Hello everyone. I wanted to do a quick little video on my kind of 5 go-to tools that I like to use for building the soundscape. So let's start with this one. This is Cinematic Rooms Professional. This is a reverb that I use. And the reason that I use this one is because it can expand the sound of the reverb up to 7.1.2, which is really awesome for creating atmospheres and things like that. So let's have a little listen to an example. I have just a simple, you can see there, just a simple little footstep sample. I'll play that just as it is to start. Just some kind of footstep movement there, right? But let's say we want to take something like that and throw it into a big cathedral. That's the preset that I have up for this right now. So I'm just going to unmute the reverb and let's see what it does to it. Really cool. So a really great tool to build an environment and make it feel like we're somewhere else. So that's Cinematic Rooms Professional. Next up, I have this really fun tool. This is called Walker 2. Now, Walker is really straightforward. I have my MIDI keyboard here in front of me, and I can play 2 notes, and it'll walk. Now, I can change a whole bunch of stuff. I can change the type of shoes. I can change if there's a little bit of a sound on there, maybe some squeaking. Maybe a little bit of leather. Can turn that up or down. We can change the outfit. So let's put it as sportswear. All right, so that works its way in there. And it responds to how hard I press, right? It's velocity sensitive. Pretty awesome. We can put a little bit of extra sound on there. So maybe this person's got some keys. Right? And then the coolest part, you can change what we're walking on. Turn the keys off and the jacket off. There's some dirt, maybe some water. Maybe leaves. And my favorite thing is that you can add little textures on top of what you're walking on. So let's put leaves with the leaves. You can see it kind of lasts after the sound a little tiny bit. We can do, let's see, maybe we should do, actually let's do dust. And we'll change this to hay. You can hear that a little bit right afterwards. So that's Walker, the second version, Walker 2. But the coolest part here, I've probably said that a few times because I really like this plugin, but I can actually switch it to animal. and I can do hooves, big or small. I can do paws, all sorts of stuff. Let's put it to hooves though. Very cool. And I can change this to, let's change the outfit, quote unquote, to fur. And I can even put this to medieval armor. Right, so you can get kind of a medieval knight on horseback there pretty easily. Let's put them in the forest though, and let's put a few branches as we walk by. But I'm going to turn this down so it's a bit more subtle. We'll turn the armor down too. Pretty awesome. So that's Walker 2. Next up, we have Whoosh. Now, this is also by the same company as Walker, UVI. And this one's really awesome. I can create different kind of whooshing sound effects. So I'm going to just set it to a preset here. Oops. Yeah, can we hear that? There it is, nice and quiet. Let's change it to a little flyby. There we go. There's tons of presets that we can choose from. So let's do black magic. That's an interesting one. Right, so you can use that for spells and stuff like that. But I can also just change the shape however we want. So I'm going to choose the noise, the first element. There's 3 elements. And I'm just going to draw with my mouse how I want the shape to be. Then I'll do the same for the second sound. Make it different. And for the third sound, we'll have it come a bit later. So there's tons that you can go through with this plugin, but really useful for making spells, or even, you know, as you can see here, there's arrow whistles and things like that. All of the movement elements of sound effects I can get from here, which is really awesome. You can see what we got here. We can do, let's do a rocket ship. And you can change the length here. This one's 7.25 seconds, so let's hear that. Nice. And maybe we like that sound, but we're going to change this last element to underwater. Right? Let's change them both to water. Really cool. Really cool stuff that you can do with that. So that is Whoosh effects. Next up, we have a Weaponizer. Weaponizer is a crazy rabbit hole to go down, but it is super, super cool. So I have all of these slots here that I can drop samples into. And I've already done that. I've dropped a few in here. And it has kind of 4 elements of that sound. So we have the onset, the body, the thump, and the tail. And I've just added in my own samples for each one of those 4 things. And how it works is when you click this fire button, it's going to play each one of these samples that I've loaded in succession. Now, it's cool because it's going to play both of these at the same time, followed closely by this, followed closely by these 2 put together, and then followed closely by these 2 put together. So when I push this, right, right? I've made kind of a practice sword versus a shield kind of fighting scenario. I used this in the Dunk and Egg, the Song of Ice and Fire soundscape that I did. So when I hit it, it will play through all those sounds as soon as I click the fire button. Now, where it gets really useful is I've actually loaded in different iterations of those sounds into each one of these things, and I have it set to kind of rotate through them. So every time I click the fire button, you'll see it changes slightly which sample is being played. So you get variations. So if I just hit the fire button a few times, you'll hear it kind of, it randomizes it a little bit. So let's hear that. Pretty cool. Let's check out one of my other presets that I've made. I really like the bow preset that I did. Let's see if this one loads up. So you get a really nice kind of organic sounding randomness to it when you take the time to load it up this way. Really, really useful. Instead of writing out each one of those arrow flies, I can use something like this to help me. And I'll show this last preset here. Just a horse idling around, and again, rotating through a few different sounds. That's a fun one. So that is Weaponizer. Now finally, we have Reformer Pro. Now, let's see if we can get Reformer Pro working. Test. Yeah. I'm going to mute it for now. Reformer Pro is probably the most fun plugin that I've used. And you can see it reacting already. Every time I talk, it starts this whole emulation process. So what I do is as soon as it senses the input of my microphone, it plays back its own samples that I've selected. So there's a few that are kind of stock in here that I can demonstrate with. Let's use the lion as an example. Or sorry, it's a black leopard. We'll use the black leopard as an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute my microphone, and I'll unmute it here, and you'll hear everything that I'm saying will come through as leopard growls. It's super awesome. Right? Anything that I perform, it'll turn it into that sound. So that sound that I've selected. So let's change it from the black leopard to the leather foley that it has here. So it's just leather movement. So if I was, if two people were kind of fighting in a soundscape or something like that, I could just set up my microphone like this and I could perform it. Pretty cool. Now I've also inputted my own sound effects in here. I'm not sure I'll be able to load them up right now, but that's how I got some performance for Treebeard in The Lord of the Rings. You put up some branch sounds and things like that, and then as I talk into it, it'll come through as if wood is creaking in that kind of way. So that's how we get some good ent movement sounds or ent talking kind of sounds. Really, really cool. So that's Reformer. The possibilities with that are pretty broad. And like I said, any of my sounds that I want, I can load in there and it will perform them based off of what I put into the microphone. So really, really cool. So that's just a little rundown of the kind of top 5 tools that I use when I'm making Soundscape. So I hope that you enjoyed, and if you have any other questions or if you want to hear any of these in more depth, then leave a comment, let me know.